Hey, what's up? What is going on? Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development. And the reason I started this podcast is because I want to try and help alleviate some of the suffering that's happening out there in silence and try and help some of the people that maybe, don't know what words to use to describe what they're going through, who to talk to, how to start the conversation, or maybe they're just afraid of the stigma around these types of topics. And so if that, maybe sounds like you, or maybe sounds like a point in your life that you maybe experienced, and you want to join a group that's based around, mental health and self-development, we have those daily conversations. I actually just started a group like that, so you can join our community. Like, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram, wherever you want to reach out to me, and I'll make sure that you can become a part of this community. I think it's important that we're able to, have these conversations about what we're going through, the struggles that we might be facing, the solutions that we found, and just the perspectives that we've gained through these struggles. And so I think that because it's so important to have these conversations, we have these daily conversations in the group, and then we also have a weekly Zoom call as well where we can discuss these things and different topics as well. So if that's a group that you feel like you want to join, a family you want to join, or something like that, then feel free to message me. Like I said, on Instagram. If you don't have me on Instagram, or you don't know what it is, I'll have my Instagram at the bottom of the screen down here if you're watching the YouTube version of this, or you're watching the video. If you're just listening to the podcast, it'll be in the show notes, wherever the show notes are. I think that's below. But, let's jump into what it is I actually wanted to talk about today. And, I basically just had one simple question for you. And I had to ask myself this question the other day, so I wanted to ask you guys as well. But, my main question for you right now, how's that New Year's resolution going? Right? And there's crickets right now for some people, because some people will be like fired up. They'll be like excited to tell you exactly how their New Year's resolution's going, because maybe they're on top of it. Maybe they're on their game. Maybe they're literally checking off every single box every single day of everything that they need to do. And they're feeling confident. Maybe they're feeling like they're further ahead than they even thought they would be in the first place. They realize that discipline and momentum carrying them through each thing, doing the things that they don't necessarily want to do every single day, but they know that they have to have the discipline to make sure that those things are achieved every single day, no matter what. Otherwise, their mental health or their physical health starts to slip, whether that's being honest in every single conversation that they have, putting in an honest 10-hour, 12 hours, sometimes days. And that's not just always just work, man. Like, sometimes that's just maybe working out or reading or journaling or, meditating or doing yoga, something that's actually going to be propelling you forward in life. Putting in the work, putting in the time. Or maybe it is working away. Maybe it's working on their career. Maybe it's working on a side hustle. Maybe it's working on, at the end of the day, there's people that are going to be able to look at themselves in the mirror realistically, because it doesn't matter who you're fucking talking to. It matters about what you can actually think and say to yourself, the communication that you have with yourself. And if you can look at yourself in the mirror right now on this very day, it's the last day of the month in January 2022 here, and you might be listening to this at any time of the year, but the same principle will still apply. There's a portion of people that can look in the mirror right now and they can say, as of right now, I've done everything I can possibly control. I've done everything I can do to solidify the fact that I am where I am supposed to be presently. And I'm maybe further ahead than I even intended. And you might not be a part of that group. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a part of that group right now. But that's the reason I'm bringing this up, because I feel like a majority of us aren't. All right? So I want to address this right here and right now. Every single year around New Year's, you hear all these fucking podcasters and entrepreneurs starting their fucking New Year's spiels. and then in the first week of January as well. And then all of that shit just disappears near the end of January, the beginning of February. You know, we look back and we think every single time around New Year's, we're like, okay, this is going to be my fucking year. And if you listen to, like I said, any podcaster or YouTube channel or whatever, they're always like, okay, set your goals for the year, or reflect back on your last year. And even I talk about those things as well. And those things are important. But then I feel like a lot of the times, and this happens with reading books as well, we can talk the talk and we can kind of read all the knowledge and we can, you know, be proud of ourselves and give ourselves that pat on the back. But at the end of the day, if you're not living by that kind of standard that you've set for yourself, if you're not holding that standard for yourself and maintaining that standard, then, you know, just talking the talk is just that. And so it's important to be able to walk the walk. And so that's why I say, you know, a little reminder, how are those resolutions coming? And that's coming back to what I was trying to get to as well before. It's okay if you're part of that group that, you know, you're not as far along as you thought you would be, or as you wanted to be, or, you know, maybe just certain things were off. You were off your game. That's completely fine. You know, I think that we need to be able to have the ability to just basically kind of reflect back on that and understand, look, like it's okay to have times where you fall off the wagon. You might have times where you can feel yourself slipping, right? Like maybe you feel like, okay, I wasn't putting in my best effort. I wasn't showing up for myself. You know, maybe I was putting in the work to get the workouts done, but, you know, was I doing the internal work? Or maybe you have been doing the internal work, but you've been slipping on the external work. And I think that realistically, those things do go both hand in hand because, you know, a lot of the time when I find myself in a hard workout, that is where I'm digging deep mentally. And we can get more in on that. And I even talked about that in the episode about my marathon I ran. But let's go back to these resolutions for a sec. You know, like last year at this point, how did you feel? This is how I caught myself slipping this year, actually. I had to ask myself this question. At the end of January 2021, I felt like a rock star. I had a program set up for myself called the Month of Mindfulness that I did for January. And looking back, I think part of the reason why I executed so well and felt so good during January is not just the fact that I did that Month of Mindfulness, which, I talked about in this podcast. It was like basically just fulfilling six different tasks every single day to make me a little bit more mindful. You know, those tasks would be like meditation, exercising, doing yoga, stretching, journaling, reading, and talking to a stranger every single day. So that was basically the basis of Month of Mindfulness. But not even just doing that program was what set me up for success in January. I think probably it was planning to do that program when I was already, you know, or while I was still in December. And so it was just like kind of the preparation for January. Whereas this year I kind of was, you know, I slipped. I got stuck in, you know, getting pumped and excited for the holidays, which obviously during years where it is a little bit stressful all year, I think that that's important. And so I forgive myself for kind of forgetting about reality, but that's exactly what this episode is about, right? So what happened with me this year, I wasn't as focused. I was a little bit more enjoying myself. My structure loosened up a lot more. My discipline loosened up a lot more along the holidays. I was eating a lot more junk food. And I wasn't actually slacking on my workouts this year, but I feel like my discipline was slipping because of maybe my nutrition and just how I was spending my time, just enjoying myself and kind of relaxing a little bit more. And so all of January this year, I felt like I was just playing catch up. And it was really stressful and I was anxious for a lot of the month. And I couldn't figure out why. But that's why I made this episode. So just to check in with other people as well. You know, like, how are you feeling? I'm not trying to guilt anybody or shame anybody by bringing up your New Year's resolutions. I'm just trying to bring you back to reality and ask you, how are you feeling? And are you executing on the things that you planned on getting done? Because honestly, that's a huge contributing factor for our mental health. That's a huge contributing factor for how we feel on a daily basis. And I was just talking to my roommate about this the other day. I was literally saying to him, you know, it's a powerful fucking feeling when you can say, I'm going to do something, right? Like you actually say, hey, I'm going to go and do something, and then you go and fucking get it done. That's a powerful feeling. And when you actually start to believe in yourself and you think, okay, now I know when I say something, I'm going to actually get it achieved, it makes you a lot more careful about what you say, because you're basically committing to it just by saying it. But it also, B, enforces the fact that you, as a person, you, right now, listening to this, when you follow through on something that you tell yourself you're going to do, your subconscious understands now that that fucking voice that you use when you tell yourself is the fucking voice that gets listened to now. Right? And we all kind of have that, those, you know, and it's been depicted so many fucking times, right? Like Andy Frisella talks about this in his podcast. He talks about having like a bitch voice and a boss voice. You know, when we were kids growing up, we grew up and it was like the devil on your shoulder or the angel on your shoulder. And we all have those kind of, you know, voices talking to us all the time. When you listen to that voice more often and you actually get to do the things that you intend to do, like say if you're going to work out or you're going to wake up early or you're going to be honest in a conversation that you're having or whatever it is, if you say you're going to do something and then you actually do it, it's so powerful for your subconscious. And so looking back on your resolution, right? Like maybe you're looking back and you're like, fuck, you know, I'm really not as far along as I wanted to be when I first started this goal. You know, take a reflect back. Take a second to take a look back and think, you know, what is there something that's working what you're doing? Is there something that's not working that you need to stop doing? Have you just not done it for long enough? Do you need to maybe pivot and set new goals? Like, are there outside forces? Be honest with yourself if this is inside or outside of your control. But are there outside or external factors that are outside of your control that are just fucking with your plan? If so, then fucking change your plan. Be realistic. Don't think about like how things fucking would be in a perfect world. Think about how things are right now. I've said it time and time and time again in this podcast. Like the last couple years have been fucking nothing but evidence that the world is so unpredictable and we cannot control everything. But what we can control is what we should control, and that's what we should focus on. And so be honest with yourself. If something is outside of your control, then don't fucking bitch about it and don't keep doing the same plan over and over again and expecting a fucking different result like out of nowhere. It's not going to fucking happen. So maybe you need to change your plan. Maybe you need to change your goal. And think about it. You know, if you did take the month off, if you feel like you took the month off, like that's kind of how I feel. Like I was like kind of playing catch up the whole month. Basically, the way I'm telling it to myself, the way that I'm kind of relaying this message in your head is, you know, if you feel like you took the month off in January and you rested, then consider that all of your fucking rest days for the rest of the year. You know, you chilled enough. You had your fucking 31 days or 30 days or 28 days or 20 fucking days, whatever, however many days you rested this month. You know, if you're not where you want to be at the end of January, it's a fucking red flag. That's your fucking main month of motivation. When people are like, oh, I'm waiting for the motivation, it's fucking January. So if you're not where you want to be at the end of January, that's your red flag right there. You've had enough fucking rest days for the year. Buckle up, because it's time to fucking hit highway speeds. You need to fucking go. So, like I said, it's okay to look back and say, hey, I've lost. Every fucking great champion in every single sport, every single avenue of business, every industry, everything, everyone who dominates at anything or even is successful at anything. You don't even have to be looking to dominate. If you're one of those people that's like, hey, look, I'm just looking to get by. Look, anyone who's successful or is able to do what they want to do and get paid for it, and then furthermore, if you want to be a fucking champion, anyone who gets to any of those levels that gets by and is just successful at what they do has to deal with fucking failure. They have to deal with losing. And it's okay to look back and say, hey, I fucking lost this month. I didn't do what I wanted to do. I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. And for whatever reason, if it's inside of my control, I'm going to fucking control that for next month. If it's outside of my control, I'm going to fucking pivot and try and find a new way to attack this or find a new goal altogether. But just forgive yourself, man. Just be okay. Like, understand that it's okay. You don't have to fucking give up on your goals. You don't have to beat yourself up. Just understand it's okay. You fucked up. Or something was fucked up. Maybe it wasn't you that fucked up. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. Maybe something was fucked up. Maybe you did fuck up, though. But it's okay, no matter what, right? Just think about it. What are the areas that are lacking? And what's the first thing that you can do to turn this around? Think about those two things, right? What areas do you feel like are lacking? And what's the first thing that you can do to turn this around? And then fucking do that thing. So that's all I got for today. I hope this was a nice little reminder, a nice little perspective shift. Maybe it made you feel good about where you're at, or maybe it was a wake-up call, and maybe it didn't make you feel very fucking good, but maybe it helps you out. So if you enjoy that podcast, if you think that, maybe one of your friends might benefit from hearing about this, and one of your loved ones might benefit from hearing about this, share the show. Help me grow. I appreciate you guys that do share it, and I appreciate everybody that reaches out on Instagram. And like I said, if you do reach out on Instagram, you want to join this community that I've been talking about, we'd have the daily conversations, the WhatsApp conversations. We have the weekly Zoom checkup, talk about mental health. Just shoot me a message. We'll get you in on that conversation as well, because no matter what it is you're going through, you're not alone, and life can and will get better for you. And that's all I got for you. So thank you so much. Much love and peace out.